24 presents exclusive coverage of the 2019 Krewe of Bacchus Parade.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us for Bacchus 2019. We are inside the Morial Convention Center, waiting for the parade to come in for the Bacchus Rendezvous. It is a wonderful party, and this crew is so steeped in history. Last year we were all here for the 50th anniversary of Bacchus. Now it's the 51st.
Yeah.
And the show's gotten even better. We have a great superstar king this year.
Yes, we do. Jensen Ackles of Supernatural, which people are so excited about. He's a crowd pleaser.
No doubt about it. Look, this crew started in 1969. They had 250 riders. Now, over 1,600.
Yeah, their first
Yeah.
parade was in 69, but they started in 68. And now, as we said, the Marines are coming in right now. This is a crew steeped in history. It was actually fomented by the brainchild of Owen Pip Brennan Sr. He never got to see it really come to fruition. His son, Owen Pip Jr., Owen Pip Brennan Jr. really got it going in 1968. In 1969, their first parade. So really, and they really wanted to open Bacchus. They wanted to open Carnival to regular folks, to people who weren't part of high society in Rex or Comus or things like that.
They were different, though, in that their king is a celebrity.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, they were the first one to do that. Also, they started out with big name stars.
Oh,
Danny
yeah.
Kaye was the
Sure.
first one.
Bob
They've had
Hope.
Bob Hope.
Jackie
Yeah.
Gleason.
Jackie Gleason. You go down the line.
They've had great people over the years.
And even recently, Will Farrell, John C. Reilly.
Sure, Hulk
We've had some
Hogan.
great people.
My son was one of the pages when Will Ferrell rode.
Yeah.
And it was just wonderful. He was such a great king, and this king is going to be great. We had the pages on for Jensen's ride on our show on Friday morning, and they're so excited. We're getting ready for the national anthem. Let's stall for that. That was awesome. The
It
Marines
sounds like the crowd was
getting ready for
performing
the
with them.
1,650 riders on this parade to come into the Morial Convention Center, and they'll make the loop around. It's really kind of neat. It's the best way to see the parade coming to the rendezvous here.
It is unbelievable to see those giant floats, the Kong floats going around this place,
It really
making the
is.
loop. It is an unbelievable sight
And
inside
it's
of here.
the best view of them, because sometimes if you're outside watching the parade, you kind of don't appreciate the artistry that goes into these floats. Inside the convention center, you really can just pay attention to them.
And here we have the Marine theme as the Marines keep marching by. You want to sing it, Doug?
I think that's your job.
This is why I'm standing in between
I
the
actually
middle
know the
of
words
you
of
two
this
tonight.
one. Cuba normally knows the words to the song.
I usually do.
I do know the words of this one.
And we had great music all night as we waited for the parade. The Wise Guys have been performing here in the Morial Convention Center.
And we should be honest, we really do not, we were not familiar with Jensen Ackles as maybe a lot of people are.
No,
His show
I haven't.
Supernatural's been on for like 14 years,
But
something
he
like
has
that.
a lot of
However, one of our
fans.
crew members, Candace, does know
She let us
him
in
very
on
well,
the
and
scoop.
she let us know all the stuff about him. She is so excited he's going to be here tonight.
Yes. So
as so many people are.
we have to introduce them when he comes over. It is his birthday weekend, guys. His wife is from Lafayette, so he's got connections here, and I hear that she was really excited that he was going to be riding as Bacchus.
I think he is too. You know,
Yeah.
everybody that comes here, and I don't know if they really understand what they're getting into. Now we're showing King Jensen Ackles on the float
Earlier
as
this
he went through the
evening.
day, and I'll tell you what, they waited till the rain ended.
Yeah.
The rain did end, just
Yeah.
like it did for a lot of the parades this year, and it was wonderful. The temperatures cooled down a bit. It was actually turned out to be a nice night.
It is. And he's been so busy since he got in town. Thursday
Yeah.
night, we saw his welcome to the city. And then Friday, he was at Children's
The
Hospital.
Children's Hospital thing is beautiful. I was there when Will Farrell did the Children's Hospital visit. That is one of
I
the
love that they
great
do that.
Bacchus traditions. And look, one of the other traditions, a lot of the previous kings will be here tonight.
Yeah.
We saw G.W. Bailey. A lot of them ride in the parade, sort of incognito,
That's
just because
really
they love
cool.
coming back. We'll see a lot of those guys throughout the course of the evening.
All right, we're about ready to see the floats come in to the Morial Convention Center. We'll be right back after this break. We are back inside the Morial Convention Center, and we can see the King's Float coming in. This is Bacchus 51.
A lot of people excited for Jensen Ackles from Supernatural. He's got a huge following, Eric. And I know he's so excited to be riding as king. His wife is from Lafayette, so he's got local connections. He's been posting on Instagram. I was checking out his social media that it's his birthday weekend. How special is that?
That is kind of special for him. And you look at, I love all the pomp and pageantry of the parade in New Orleans. You see all the police officers on the motorcycles coming in. Then you see the Blaine Kern vans coming after. And it's just really cool.
It is. It's so much action, and it's packed here inside the convention center. Everybody's been having a great night dancing to the wise guys, but all attention now is on the parade.
Yeah, and you think about the work that goes into this. And as I was on the parade route this weekend, I was thinking, you know, what a wonderful city this is.
It is.
That you have this many people who are willing to spend their hard-earned money
Sure.
to make sure that we have the best free party in the world.
It is such a magical time, and this year's theme is so cool for Bacchus. It's starring Louisiana,
Yeah,
which is celebrating the thriving movie industry in Louisiana. So we'll see floats that represent movies or films or shows that have been shot here.
and you think about how many movies have made here. In fact, at the Oscars, we just saw The Green Book
Sure.
won Best Film,
Yes.
and it was shot mostly in New Orleans, mostly in Louisiana.
It's so cool to watch films now and go, oh, wait, I recognize that.
I know.
It's really neat. So that's what we'll be seeing represented in the floats today.
And this crowd is really ready for this. They've been
Yeah.
in anticipation of this. The convention center has been packed, and this is a fun party. The Rendezvous is a wonderful party. Bacchus knows how to treat a king.
And this is our first view of Jensen Ackles, Bacchus 51. He's still going strong. I know it's been a long ride.
And you know what? I'm so glad that the rain eased up for him and the rest of the members of Bacchus.
And this is a brand new King's float, which is very nice. They've got animation of the King's figure, so look out for that on the top. And there's Jensen Ackles.
You know, we just did a special program for Bacchus for their 50th anniversary, and the work that's gone into this crew, that's gone into this parade, that's gone into this organization is just amazing. So many people putting so much time in to make sure everybody has a great time. And look at the king. He is living large.
He is. Look at the outfit. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, look at him taking it all in.
And I heard him on the news earlier this evening. He was talking to our Danny Monteverdi, and he was saying that he couldn't wait to get on Napoleon and St. Charles to see all the people waiting. And I'm sure they were out there, because, you know, when the weather gets nice after a rain, it's wonderful to be out. It happened on Thursday night for for the Thursday night parade.
Sure.
It happened tonight.
Once that rain is over, there he is, having a great time. And you know what's so cool? I was reading they actually had to write him out of the end of an episode so that he could be here for Mardi Gras weekend.
Well, see, that's how important this is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big deal. It's a big deal to be Bacchus.
It is. It really is a big deal. And again, since his wife is local and from Lafayette, she really understood, hey, this is a huge deal.
And then if our camera can go wide, all the pages are on there. We had all the pages on the morning show.
We did.
And those kids are having the time of their life.
Look at them. Look at the one right in the front.
They're having the
such
time
a
of
good
their
time.
life. And these are all young kids.
Yeah, there they
There's
are.
maybe 20 of them, 15, 20 of them. And it's just a great time for them. And they get, especially when you have a big star on the float with them, it's just a wonderful night.
Yeah, and as you know, once you've ridden on a float, you need some help throwing. I'm sure he is overwhelmed from people screaming his name.
Yeah. And here we have the riding lieutenants coming in after. Yeah, they're normally on horseback, but you can't randomly bring horses into the convention center because horses do things.
They do some things, Eric, so they're standing outside waiting.
They are.
But these are the riding lieutenants.
And tonight they are riding.
Yes. Oh, we're getting our first peek at a band. This is Southern University.
And I am so glad they were able to keep the bands in.
Oh my goodness,
Because a lot of the crews, because of the weather,
Sure.
had bands eliminated from their parades. But it's just great having a band in, and especially Southern University Jaguar Band. They are awesome.
They really are spectacular. Let's listen.
I'll tell you what, Southern University Marching Band, one of the great marching bands, one of the great college bands, not just in this state, but in this country.
Oh my goodness, yeah, they're recognized everywhere, right out of Baton Rouge, and we are so proud to see them marching through the convention center tonight.
All right, Doug is on the floor now. Doug, who do you got there?
Well, look, here's the deal, Eric. We have shown this before. The floats and the bands come in at that end of the Morial Convention Center. It's an unbelievable ride. They come, it's about 350, 400 yards. Then they make a loop around the convention center. You see people lined up on both sides to see the floats. It's unbelievable, a little less than a half a mile loop that these floats go in, and the bands, and it's all coming in right now. It's an unbelievable show as we have our next float coming.
By the way, Doug, the reason Doug knows all this, Doug walked the entire route to see how long it was.
Oh.
I actually did step it off just to see. I had done it last year, but forgotten. And yeah, it's a little less than a half a mile.
Yeah.
It's an unbelievable walk. I gotta tell you, something about the concrete floor and the ceilings, the marching bands in here sound unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
This is Float 2 passing us right now. These are the officers of Bacchus going by us right this minute. There you go.
And you talk about a front row seat. There's really not a bad seat in the house in this convention center for the people who want to see this parade go by.
Oh my goodness, and such attention and detail to the floats you can see here. This one is animated. Take a look.
Yeah.
Look at the eyebrows and the eyes.
I
mean,
love
just
that.
so much attention to detail.
And you think about the work that goes into building these floats. You know, they start after the parade's over tonight.
Yeah.
They'll start working on next year.
Yeah, and they're really beautiful.
And all the costumes are custom done. I mean, they do everything that has done this for this. And now, as you know, you've got to wear a mask if you're riding on the streets. If you're in the convention center, they can take their masks off because, you know, a lot of these guys have friends here.
Sure.
I've got a bunch of friends on the hospitality float, and it's just great to see them.
Yeah, so they're relaxing now, taking off the masks, and enjoying that ride around the convention center.
And as Doug said, it's kind of a long ride, you know, and they go slow here, and they really save a lot of throws for the folks here at the convention center.
Yeah, that's the other amazing thing, right? That they've gone for so long
Miles.
to get in here and still unload on people. I mean, there's so much stuff left to throw.
Well, that's when you realize, you know, they spend like a couple of $1 million buying the throws that they throw to the crowds. And it really is just so wonderful that they spend their hard-earned money to make sure we all have a good time.
And we are having a good time looking at the title float. Again, the theme for Bacchus is starring Louisiana. Since 1909, 300 full-length movies and TV shows have been set or filmed in Louisiana. And in recent years, we've seen so many popular TV shows and movies visit here.
Well, NCIS New Orleans is one of the big ones.
Sure.
That's going on right now, still going on. There's so many movies, as you mentioned, go back throughout the decades of movies being made here.
Floats tonight honoring the Curious Case of Benjamin Button. We remember that one with Brad Pitt. The Princess and the Frog from the Disney Channel, which of course honors our Leah Chase, who we love so much. It's going to be really cool.
And that's what you love about this. And we love the movies because they're great movies, but we love seeing parts of Louisiana that we know.
We do, and all that it does for the economy being down here. All right, we've got the Talladega College Band. More music, guys. They're out of Alabama and making their way in the convention center, and they should be exhausted, Eric. They played in Endymion last night, which we know is huge as well.
You know, it's amazing how many high school bands, how many college bands play in parade after parade.
Yep.
Some high schools have done a morning parade, then an evening parade.
Unbelievable. So these guys going 2 nights in a row and going strong. Let's listen in.
The band sounds great, and this is a big deal for colleges to come here. You know, they come here from a number of states around the country to march in parades in the Carnival season, and for them to march in Bacchus, that's a big deal.
Yes, it is. The Talladega College Band, out of Alabama, guys.
And we'll be right back after the break. Stay right there. Back in the Morial Convention Center for Bacchus 2019, and Bacchus 51, Jensen Ackles, is making a second trip around the crowd because he's that popular.
There you go. He is really popular. He's from the show Supernatural and actually had to be written out of the end of an episode so that he could enjoy this huge Mardi Gras weekend. It's actually his birthday weekend as well, which we'll talk to him about in just a few.
And that tells you what a big deal Bacchus is.
Oh,
you know, to be a Bacchus is just amazing, and you're in some pretty heady company over the 50 years they've been parading, 51 years they've been parading.
Yeah, and they are different in that they always have a celebrity reign over the parade. His wife is from Louisiana, so he has local ties. She's from Lafayette, so I'm sure that she conveyed to him the importance of running his Bacchus.
So, and you know, I'm sure he went online and saw some stuff. I'm sure he talked to some other of the stars who have been Bacchus and realized this is an awesome time.
Yeah, it's a really, really amazing honor. You can see, though, he's having a great time.
Oh,
Look at him. Still going strong and throwing, which he's been doing the entire parade route. He's been in town for a couple of days now.
Arriving now. I'll tell you what, this crew was kind of started as a way to help the hospitality industry, as a way to get more people in to Carnival and the Carnival season and the Mardi Gras. because a lot of times it was just for high society.
Sure.
But this crew, the Bacchus crew, really opened it up. And the hospitality float, Bacchanality, it's got some of your favorite restaurateurs, some of the great people that run the hospitality industry. And I'll tell you what, they give back so much to New Orleans.
Yeah, and this is a huge one. You can see there's 79 riders, 3 different units, and as you said, members of the hospitality industry. They introduced this float in 2005. You say you got some friends on this one,
I got a
Eric?
bunch of friends on this
You
one.
always have friends who
well,
know
no,
food.
and these are a bunch of great guys. And the Hospitality Foundation has done so much to help the restaurant industry and people in the restaurant industry, because a lot of times they need an extra hand where a lot of times people don't realize just there are people in the business who don't have the kind of benefits that you think. You know, you think about a lot of musicians, you think, well,
Sure.
you're a musician, so you
Yeah.
must make jillions of
Of
dollars.
course.
It's not always the
And that's
case.
not always the
A
case,
lot of
right.
times in the hospitality industry, a lot of the people who work the business don't get the benefits.
Yeah. And this is appreciating that. It's also just a beautiful float. They've got crawfish on there. I saw some oysters. The French market, they've got flames on the front. Of course, the cook everything that they've got on there. This is a fun one.
Well, and remember, you know, they represent a lot of what you think about when you come to New Orleans. When you come here, you expect to find the music and, of course, the food. The food
Right.
has become such a big part of this city and the culture that we have here.
It is central to the city, and this is such a humongous float. I believe we're
It's-
looking at the
it
third
may go on for
phase of it
days.
passing now. It's really cool. All right, and the music keeps going. This is Kentucky State University Band.
As we said, they come from all over the country to be in Bacchus and to be in all the parades in the Mardi Gras season.
It is. The music's amazing, and I love seeing the dancers as well, Eric.
Yeah. And it's a big job to take all these kids down from Kentucky or Alabama or wherever they come from to bring them all here. They march in this parade, maybe a couple of others, and it's really cool. I look, they have all the rain ponchos
They have
on.
on their ponchos, yeah.
I don't think it rained after it
I don't
stopped.
think it did, not since they've been marching, but they were ready for it.
Just in case, like Boy Scouts, they're always prepared.
I love that too, and then they were just like, just keep them on. They're clearly used to New Orleans weather. They're
Well,
like,
they
you
were,
can come
they were
again.
clear so you can still see the uniform.
Uh-oh.
There you go.
There we go.
And they've been doing this for a couple of hours now.
Yeah.
Actually, several hours.
Right.
And for miles, and they're still giving it their all.
Giving their all. I love it. Look at the dancers go. And the ponchos are going with them.
Oh, yeah. Well, they probably never had a chance to take them off.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
And we know it's not going to rain here inside the convention center. That's a big band, though.
All right, and this is float number 5, the Bacchus Chariot.
So you're a big Saints fan.
Don't start
Will
with
Lutz
me,
is
Eric.
on this.
Don't start with me.
Oh, he is such a great kicker. Look at number 3.
See, he's got on a Saints jersey, so I recognize
And
him.
our buddy George Schiaffino, who comes on the morning news talking about computers.
Computer stuff.
And we love him. He's lieutenant with Bacchus. He came on the other morning to
Yeah,
show
he
us
was on the show.
some of the Bacchus throws. They have a ton of stuff. And Will Lutz is going to be a rock star here.
There you go. He's usually the kicker, but he's throwing tonight. Did you
That's
like
true.
that?
Yeah.
Did
I
you
wish
like
he could,
that?
You know, it'd be funny if he kicked a couple.
That actually would be hilarious.
That would be funny. All right, let's go down to Doug on the floor.
Yeah, look, Will Lutz just going by. I don't know if you guys realize what a spectacular year he had for the Saints. He was 28 of 30 in field goals. That was 6th best in the NFL. But here's the stat about Will Lutz. In 3 years with the Saints, he has made 87% of his field goals. That is the 4th best field goal percentage in the history of the NFL. He's been that good for the Saints. He's a restricted free agent. He's one of those guys that the Saints would love to re-sign and bring back. but he is a restricted free agent, meaning the Saints could match any offer any other team makes to him. So he's one of the guys that we have an asterisk on when free agency starts in a couple of weeks. And look, a couple of observations from here down on the floor. One, you talked about throws coming down here. The throws coming down here are the premium throws. You are seeing all of the signature items getting thrown to people down here. Plus, the marching bands that you see down here are the cream of the crop. This is the A-list group of marching bands, and we're about to see one of the great high school marching bands, the Marching 100 from St. Augustine. Let's listen in.
The St. Augustine Marching 100, the Purple Knights. Let me tell you what, Doug was right. One of the great high school bands, not just in the state, in the country.
Oh my goodness.
He's also right about Will Lutz. We do not want to lose Will Lutz. He's been a great kicker for us.
Exactly, that's what I was thinking.
I knew you were. I knew you were.
St. Aug is a crowd favorite in parades. You see people wait for them to come down the street, and we know why.
And you see him in so many Mardi Gras crews.
So many.
I mean, so many parades because they're in demand, and you understand that. And we'll continue our show here at the Morial Convention Center. Bacchus 2019, the floats are rolling in.
They are rolling now,
It's a great
Eric.
show. We'll be back after this. And here we go with Pelican Brief.
Welcome back to the Morial Convention Center. That's right, the theme tonight is starring Louisiana, so you're going to see the floats represent movies and TV shows that were shot here in New Orleans or Louisiana.
And this was a great movie.
Tell me about it. I don't know this one.
It was set here.
Okay.
It's from a John Grisham novel. Just a great movie. I'm trying to think of who was the star of the movie.
Julia Roberts,
Julia
according
Roberts
to the cards that I have.
She was great in that.
Oh, awesome. I love her.
And if you know John Grisham, if you're a fan of John Grisham, all the movies they've done about his books have been great.
Yeah, and this one's super local. It was about a young Tulane University student. So
Yeah.
we're going to see that on all the floats tonight. Either they're set in or starring someone in Louisiana. So this is going to be really cool.
Yeah. And if you've read any John Grisham novels, I mean, they really are great. This really held pretty close to the novel itself.
Very
I thought.
nice. And this one's very Louisiana with the pelican on top either way.
Yeah. Pelican being our state bird. And they are throwing a lot of stuff. Doug was talking about how much stuff. And here's the Jesuit High School band. Jesuit High School, one of the great high schools in New Orleans.
Making their way into the convention center.
And I know a lot of the guys who are in this crew are graduates of Jesuit.
Oh, well, there you go. Local connections, including the captain went to Jesuit.
I believe one of our producers went there.
Maybe.
Dominic.
Oh, wait, I forgot. He just said maybe in the ear. That's right. Oh, look at the light up drum.
Oh, yeah, no, it looks great. The Jesuit Blue Jays. I may be partial. My son goes there.
Yeah, you're a little bit partial.
Oh, and you know what? The king is coming right in front of us right now.
He is.
Behind the scenes.
He's should
You
be
don't
ready
see
for
that,
a break.
but we see it.
Oh,
Oh, it's kind of
they're
cool.
throwing to us, yeah.
He's throwing stuff. Where we got one.
Oh, Candace, our
Jensen Ackles just
Candace
threw us.
left
Yeah.
us to go to his float. Candace
knew
on
she
our
would.
crew, who's a fan of Jensen Ackles, ran over to catch everything from his float. She got some stuff too.
All right. Ben, I'll tell you what, people are leaving us to go see Jensen Ackles.
Understandable. Oh, this is a fun one. The Curious Case of Benjamin Button with Brad Pitt. Remember this one?
This was a great movie.
It was.
And shot around New Orleans. Some of the houses very familiar. And I actually auditioned for this movie.
Wait, what?
I auditioned for a part in it. I was rejected.
That's okay, because auditioning was still the fun part.
No, it wasn't.
Eric doesn't
Getting
like
it would have been the fun
rejection.
part.
Eric doesn't
there's
like
our
rejection.
hospitality suite.
But this is cool. Another movie set in Louisiana. The
I
floats
told
are
you.
making their way closer to us now, so
Yeah, and they're
we're
coming
trying not to get
they're
hit.
coming behind the scenes. When I got my friends in the hospitality float throwing a lot of
Yeah,
stuff.
they're trying to get stuff to you, Eric. All right, and we're taking it to the West Bank. Landry Walker High School Marching Band making their way in.
Under the direction of Wilbert Rawlins. They have a great program. He is a great band director, too. And they really have stepped up their game. There's Wilbert right in the front, the tall one in the middle. Okay, they're throwing stuff at us. Hold on.
They are throwing stuff. I just found something at my feet.
You can sing Sweet Caroline, can't you?
Yeah.
Sing it.
Is that what they're playing?
Sweet Caroline, Neil Diamond.
Wait, I gotta catch it. I gotta catch the beat.
Sweet Caroline, oh, oh, oh. Come on.
What part are they on right now? Sing it.
Well, they just stopped. But I know Sheba knows all the words of that
I
song.
was singing Sweet Caroline earlier. I just couldn't catch the beat
All
in
right.
that moment.
But the Landry Walker Band in Bacchus 2019.
Right.
And let me tell you what, I've seen them about 4 times this weekend. They
Have
marched
you?
in a lot of parades.
That's what we were saying, though. So
Well,
many
'cause
of
they're
the,
great. They're really
yeah,
a great
the bands
band.
have been so busy these past 2 weeks. But they put on such a great show.
They
and
do
we
put on a great
appreciate
show.
it.
And you think about these kids who are walking in so many parades for so many miles, rain or shine, night or day,
Yeah.
they're there, and they're putting on 100%. Now, Sheba, I know you're not going to know this movie.
I knew that you were going to have fun with me tonight because I'm horrible at movies.
Well,
no, I don't know
I
this
was
one.
young when this movie
Oh, well,
came
then I'm
out.
out the mix.
So, this is 1969's Easy Rider with Peter Fonda, Dennis Hopper. And I'll tell you what, this was a very big film for its time. It really was kind of a game changer for society.
Huh.
It was about motorcycles.
Okay.
See the Easy Rider up there?
Now, the New Orleans connection is they head on a motorcycle to New Orleans for Mardi Gras.
Yes, they do.
Okay, so now I get the connection. 1969 when the first Bacchus rolled. So
And you
maybe
know who
the
Peter Fonda is,
significance
of
there.
course, don't you?
Is he related to Jane Fonda?
Yes, her
Then
brother.
Yes. Oh, well, good. See?
Yeah, there you go.
Don't start quizzing me on TV. This float is impressive, though. Just look at
It
the
is
design
impressive.
of it.
And what I like, I love that they've taken all the movie themes.
I think this is one of my
Yeah.
favorite themes I've ever seen.
I think it's really
It's
cool
clever.
they've done this.
Yeah.
And it brings back so many good memories of so many movies that were either shot in New Orleans or about New Orleans.
Sure.
Or they were coming to New Orleans like they were an Easy Rider.
The fun ones are the ones I don't realize had a connection to Louisiana.
Yeah, yeah. Sheba, where were you in 1969?
Not even a thought. Not even a piece of a thought. All right,
right.
let's see how things are looking on the floor. We want to check in with Doug. Doug, where are you now?
Yeah, hey, look, it's been a great day for Bacchus. We are here with a longtime Bacchus lieutenant, Mike O'Brien. How was the ride today? How would you describe the crowd, the weather, all
The ride was terrific. The crowds were very deep. Everybody was out there having a good time. It was really fantastic.
Was there anything different about this ride from your standpoint with the crowds? Because look, the rain was a threat today.
The rain was a threat, but the people came out and supported the group. What can we say?
How special is this in here? This is an unbelievable atmosphere for a parade. Describe this, because you sort of see it from both ends, as a lieutenant and then watching it.
This is fantastic. To have the parade come through here, all of the people dressed up, it's just amazing.
It is amazing. Mike, thank you. Get back to work. You see the lieutenants work in the crowd. They do it all night. And look, Eric, one of the great things about this parade, we will see some of the floats go around once and stop, and then some of the floats will make multiple rings around the convention center. We've already seen Jensen Ackles, the King, do it twice. It's a fun parade. You're seeing the bands coming. A lot more floats to come. Sheba, Eric, back to you guys.
Yeah, it is a fun night, and everybody's having a great time. Orleans is pleasing the crowd today as they march by.
Yes, they are. They look great.
And he was talking about the come by. Jensen Ackles came by a couple of times.
Sure.
It was great when he came back in the back, because you're going to see the King's table. We're kind of up on the top level where the King's table is. King's table is right to our right. And he'll be sitting there with his entourage.
Yeah, he came right
You
by
know,
us.
he's Jensen Ackles. He has an entourage.
He totally has an entourage, just like Eric Paulson.
I mean, I was impressed when you brought your entourage here.
Stop it.
All right, here we have
That's
Will Lutz
making
coming by
his round
again.
again.
Well, you know what? He's Will Lutz.
You know what's cool too is the throws this year, of course, always correspond with the theme. So
Yeah.
they've got these popcorn doubloons. We caught one of these
We've
really
got this.
cool.
If we can come back to us for a second.
What do you call that thing? A director's board?
Clapboard.
A
Clapboard. They do it.
clapboard.
Yeah, they do it for the sound.
What? Action!
There you go.
Cut! That's all I
It
got.
is kind of cool. But they show a bunch of good stuff. Anyway, Will Lutz making his illustrious trip one more time around this crowded convention center. Will Lutz, one of the great saints. Here's the Saratoga truck.
Yeah, this is another movie set in or surrounding Louisiana. 1945 romantic drama. I can't help you with this one
All right,
either,
that's
Eric.
even before my time, so
Was this-
I don't know that one.
Well, we are absolutely done. But apparently, it has a connection to somebody
What's
lived
some
in a
big
home.
stars?
Grandpa.
Bergman, Gary Cooper. I mean, those were big stars. You may not remember them, but they were big. All right, we'll be right back with more Bacchus 2019 after the break. And here we have the McDonough 35 Senior High School Band. Sheba has been furiously Googling Saratoga trunk to see what this 1945 movie was all
Are you
about.
still talking about that 1945 movie? Move on, Eric. That was the last float that we saw. We're back into the music. McDonough 35 dancing and marching as they come into the convention center. They sound great and they look great.
One thing I love about New Orleans is there's so many wonderful high school bands.
So many. We have so many talented young kids.
Yeah, and you know, music is such a great way to keep kids out of trouble. It's a great venue for people, for young people. It really gives them something to do, something to be part of.
Yeah, and what's impressive to me, they always sound so professional, right?
Yeah.
It's like if they took the sign down, we wouldn't know this is a high school band, really.
You would think these guys are all going to be professional musicians
Yeah.
one day. And you know, a lot of them will turn out to be.
A lot of them do turn out to be. They look great. You can see the crowd is just really enjoying everything throughout this night. We started off with some music. You can see all attention, though, is on the parade as the bands and the floats make their way through.
I was on the parade route yesterday, and one of the high school bands came by, and you watch the dancers, and it stalled for a while. They never stopped dancing.
Wow.
They entertain that crowd for like 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's after they've gone through, you know, a couple of miles
Sure.
of parade route.
We've got our next float making its way here. This is Bacamore.
Go ahead, Sheba. What's this dedicated
You
to?
gotta say Bacamore first.
I can do it. Parade.
That wasn't. This is about love, Eric, and you need it. to shoot arrows into your heart. Couldn't you use that if he could find your heart?
If he can find my heart.
If he can find your heart. This one debuted in the 2008 parade, and he's stealing your heart with another glass of wine. This is a pretty float, though. Look.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
I like all the cute little hearts.
You know, and I love all the LED lights they've been able to do.
Yeah.
It's really changed the look of Mardi Gras, especially with the cruise.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
And just for the night cruise, it's spectacular. Whoa, that was impressive.
We got flips going on.
Flips and Bacamore.
There you go.
That was a
That's
Baca
the
flip.
McDonough 35.
Yeah. That really beautiful float. All right, we're going to take a quick break and come back to our coverage, our exclusive coverage of Bacchus 2019.
Welcome back to the Morial Convention Center. We are celebrating Bacchus 2019 and the Roots of Music Band making their way through the Morial Convention Center right now. It is so great to see these bands get to the end of the road, the convention center, and they're still going strong. The music has been amazing. We've seen several floats make their way through so far. The theme this year, starring Louisiana. But let's listen in to the Roots of Music. All right, Roots of Music making their way through the Morial Convention Center as we get our next float in. And Eric, you'll know this one. It's American Horror Story.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, these are all floats honoring shows or movies that were set in Louisiana. And this one has done some really cool stuff.
Do you know who's a big fan of this?
Who?
Our old buddy Carl Arredondo.
Is he?
Yes.
Well, he would like this. Of course, he just retired on Friday.
Yes,
so
he did.
This is paying a little bit of honor
But
to him.
he gave me $20 to mention his name tonight, so.
Stop it. The third season Coven took place in New Orleans, Eric. That one was in 2013. It was about witches, which makes sense for New Orleans.
This is a really popular series, too.
This is. I like this float a lot. This is one of my favorites we've seen so far.
You know, it's funny, but each float you think, because you forget for a second, oh, that last float, that was the best float.
Sure.
Then this one,
This
that's the
is
best
my
float.
favorite float, right. I've had 3 favorites so far. Now we're moving on to Covington St. Paul's High School Band. They look very classy.
They do. Guess what their mascot is?
Is that a wolf?
Looks like it. You can hear our Chris Franklin in the background. He's the
Uh-oh, they're
announcer for
getting
tonight.
down now.
Yeah, they're going to get down. Covington knows how to roll.
There you go.
And I do like all the LED lights they have in the drums now.
Yeah, that is
It's
cool.
such an addition for the nighttime cruise, too.
I like that a lot. Oh, they've got sunglasses on. Too cool.
Oh, they're going. Look at them.
They are. I like this walk.
They got their straw hats on, which I doubt is made of straw anymore.
This is so fun. I like that some of the guys are wearing shades. Have you noticed?
Well, wouldn't you?
Well, I think
Because
you
I
would.
think musicians need to be cool, you know?
I mean, they just kind of inherently are. Very nice.
It is great, and we're going to be talking to Jensen Ackles in a little while.
We are.
He got off his float. Now he's got a big king's table set up to our right.
And look at the crowd tonight, Eric. I mean, it is packed in here, and it is just amazing to watch everyone's attention turn from dancing to the parade. They have such a great view here in the convention center. I mean, they're really there to catch everything from the floats, and they're still throwing so much when they get to the end here.
The thing I love about a rendezvous like this, everybody is so happy. It's such a good time. It's such a great party. And you get to see a parade go by. And I think about, you know, like the Macy's Day Parade or the Rose Bowl Parade.
Yeah.
They don't throw anything.
They don't throw anything. You just watch it.
I watch sometimes and I go, this is kind of boring. But you're mesmerized by what it is.
Doesn't really feel
I'm sorry, it is.
I'm with you. I don't want to just look. I want to be a part of
But
it.
a
And New
Mardi Gras
Orleans makes you part of
and
it.
we've been so spoiled by Mardi Gras parades.
It's true.
Because it's like no other parade in the world.
Yeah. You catch, you dance along. It's just so good. There's so much energy.
Well,
and we
it's so
feel
much
that
fun.
here tonight.
And for a super crew like Bacchus to see, especially because it rolls at night, and all the beautiful lights and the pageantry. And I just love seeing it. And these are giant floats. Like the one behind us right now is a humongous float.
Yeah, they really are. Some have 2 and 3 parts to them. And
Yeah.
we've got many more floats to come, Eric.
And tons of lights and tons of throws. We'll be back with more of Bacchus 2019 after the break. Welcome back, and while we were in commercial break, Will Lutz went for his 3rd trip around.
Yeah, he is not getting off the
he's
float.
Will Lutz.
Right, he's like, take me around one more time.
Oh, that's good.
So we've seen Will Lutz 3 times. For the first time, we're seeing the Bacca Gator, and I really love all the floats that they name with Bacca on the front of it.
Yeah, but this is one of their giant floats. Remember when it first, it was amazing.
No,
to see
because
something this
that was
big. Oh, sorry. Well, I do remember it.
But this one is huge, you're
I
right.
was just a kid then.
114 riders, 105 feet long. And this was actually the first Carnival tandem float. Now, we see a lot of those now. It's common to see the tandem floats or the 3-part floats. This was actually the first.
And the animation and the lights on this, the lights on this,
it's really
amazing.
Beautiful.
It's changed a whole lot over the years. It wasn't like this in 1986.
No. It has grown, but it looks amazing. Yeah, so we are watching the Bacca Gator make its way through. And this is cool because most of the floats we'll see tonight are about starring Louisiana. Bacca's floats as well. And those are always going to be here. And this is one that we've been seeing again for decades now. And
imagine the work that goes into making a float like this happen.
No, it's absolutely a work of art.
The
it
work
really
they
is.
do at Kern Studio is amazing. And I kind of, they have a building big enough
to hold its own building. The cool thing is tonight it ties into the theme, but we'll get to that in just a second. We're going to take a break right now, and we'll see you back from the convention center.
And here we are. Are you a fan of Terminator?
Yeah, I do like the Terminator movies.
I love those movies. This is Terminator Genesis.
Nah, I didn't see that one.
This is the 2015 science fiction film released by Paramount Pictures. It's the 5th installment of the Terminator movies. A majority of the photography was shot in New Orleans.
That's right.
Although you wouldn't really notice that in the film.
No, not in the Terminator film. See, that's a cool one. I didn't realize that there was a connection there to Louisiana.
I did not either. I didn't.
Very nice.
In fact, I saw them. We did not realize a lot of it was shot here.
That's what the great thing is about this theme starring Louisiana. We're learning about more films with Louisiana connections, which we know there are a lot of them. There have been hundreds since 1909 here.
Yeah. You know, apparently I've been to way too many parades this season because I've seen Edna Carr in a bunch of parades so far.
You were just getting around, sir.
Well, no, it's just so fun. And it's been a wonderful carnival season, hasn't it?
It has, and the weather's held up.
The weather
I
has
think
held
every
up.
time it was not supposed to.
And even when it was supposed to rain, it didn't rain, or the rain came. They held off the parade like they did on Thursday night, and they did tonight, and they waited for the parade for the rain to end, and the parade started, and it was great.
Edna Carr bringing us some more music right now.
And again, one of the great school bands, junior high school band. Look at these kids. And they all seem to be right in procession. Let's go down on the floor. Doug Mouton is there.
Of course, that's the Edna Carr High School Band, defending state football champions. I want to show you some of the catches because some of the Bacca-themed floats have their own throws. This is the Bacca Gator, obviously caught from the Bacca Gator float. This is the Bacca Amore bead that they threw. Some of the floats have their own unique themes. We're here at Edna Carr. Now look, every time we see a small gap between floats, it's because Will Lutz in the chariot keeps muscling his way back into the lineup. We've seen the Will Lutz float 3 times. Let's listen to Edna Carr.
Look at those high kicks,
Yeah.
Eric.
Can you do that, Sheba?
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah.
Edna Carr Junior High School Band.
And these kids have marched in a bunch of bands, a high school band, Edna Carr High School Band.
Yeah.
Just great to see them. And they've been, I don't know how many parades they've marched in, but I've seen them in, this is probably my 3rd parade to see them marching in.
I want some of those fun shoes that the dancers
Yeah.
wear.
And look at the enthusiasm they still have after marching on a long parade route. I'm not sure how long it is, but
Yeah.
it's a long route.
And as you've been saying, they've been doing this for about 2 weeks now. And
Yeah.
parades.
And it's chilly now. Now, this movie was made in 1918. I was just a kid then.
Yeah, you were just
Just a kid.
you were just a kid.
I had no idea this was filmed in Louisiana. This was
No.
filmed in the Atchafalaya River Basin. This is from 1918. I have no idea who these people are.
The first Tarzan film ever made, though.
Elmo Lincoln, Enid Markey, George B. French, Gordon Griffith. I did not. I knew the Johnny Weissmuller films.
Interesting. Tarzan with a Louisiana connection for this starring Louisiana theme.
What I'm impressed with is the research that the folks from Bacchus did
Yeah.
to find all this.
That is really cool because they didn't just stick with the few that we
No.
all know in recent years were shot
No.
or filmed or set in Louisiana.
But this was a silent movie. I didn't even
Oh.
know they made a Tarzan silent movie.
I didn't either. It's not a Tarzan that I'm familiar with.
I wonder how many people are wondering, gee, what connection does that have to Louisiana?
Probably a lot. It is cool that they're putting the dates on the front of the float.
I like that, yeah.
So people probably can go home and look it up later.
Yeah.
If they remember that.
If they take
Yeah.
notes, they can Google
If they
it later.
take notes at the parade.
All right, let's go to Doug and Congressman Steve Scalise.
Okay, look, you might have come to us at a slightly inopportune moment as the horns blare in our ears. Steve Scalise was on that Baccatality float. I didn't see you on the float. How would you describe the ride today, the crowds, the weather, all of that?
We had massive crowds, and look, I mean, it was supposed to pour down. The rain somehow just moved right beyond us before we rolled. It was a great night, and huge crowds, a lot of fun out there, and what a great thing that Brennan's have put together over the years.
When you describe to people in Washington what it's like to ride in a big-time Mardi Gras float, I mean, this is a super crew. You're going to see the biggest crowds that there are. What do you tell people, and do you get them, when you say it, do they sort of not believe it? Because it's unreal, isn't it?
Nobody really understands how this works, and everybody loves Mardi Gras. They love the idea of it. But then just to see what 1 million people on the streets is like, nobody can fathom that. So when I send them pictures, they are just blown away. They're like, I got to do that sometime and come up and ride with you.
And you're on the Baccatality float. This parade was created by New Orleans hospitality industry, by the Brennan family. Of course, now it reaches all across the hospitality industry. That is obviously the lifeblood of what we do here in southeastern Louisiana, isn't it?
When it's really what put us on the map. You know, when you talk about New Orleans and Louisiana, anywhere, not just in the U.S., anywhere in the world, the first thing they think of is our great food, our hospitality. And look, after Katrina, these were the people that were bringing up people back. I'm not coming back until my restaurant, my local neighborhood restaurant opens up. They're just great for the community, and they really are what people think about when they think of New Orleans.
And you said it before, the theme tonight, the theme of, and we're looking at the Kong float, which is one of the iconic floats of Bacchus. The theme tonight about Hollywood South and the success we've had, it is a big part of what we're doing right now, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, it's been phenomenal to see what we've been able to do. Since really 2002, when we created this industry, there were a few films like the old Tarzan movie or a few other films that came here. But really, this billion-dollar industry that we've created, and we have TV shows now, big-time movies that are filmed here all the time. It's exciting, it brings a lot of people in, but it really creates a lot of local jobs, and it's been a new part of our economy.
No question. Steve Scalise, thank you for stopping by.
Happy Mardi Gras, everybody. Great ride at Bacchus.
He's the pride of the Rummel Raiders, Steve Scalise. Let's send it back to Sheba and Eric.
All right, Doug, thank you very much. And Steve, thank you for talking with Doug. The Bacchus Kong family, this is an awesome float.
Oh yeah, I love the whole Bacchus crew and Bacchus Kong. This is the Carver High School band.
They're the Rams, and they're under the direction of Eric French. I'll tell you what, there's a lot of school pride when a band marches in a parade like Bacchus.
Very much so. And I love seeing the different uniforms.
Yeah, and they should be proud. And you know, a lot of people have helped out a lot of these high schools, a lot of organizations, Trombone Shorties, Tivadina Foundation, a lot of foundations like that have really helped.
Make sure they have instruments and everything else.
So it's great. It does take a village to raise a child in New Orleans.
Certainly.
And the uniforms are great.
All right, it looks like they're about to put on a little show for us.
I hope so. Did you ever twirl a baton?
Yeah.
Were you any good?
No. But I have always wanted to be a baton twirler. But I went to Dominican, we didn't have baton twirlers.
It is kind of amazing to watch them go.
Yeah.
And the uniforms look great. You were mentioning all the different uniforms.
I do love looking at the uniforms.
I'm just amazed that they have the energy to dance, the high steps, the kicks, everything else.
Yep, look at them go.
However many miles. And it got chilly out today. You went from like, it seemed like about 80 degrees
oh my goodness,
to the low 60s.
It was really cold. I had a coat on coming in here. And you can see the kids are wearing their jackets. That's probably why.
Yeah.
All right, it's back to our starring Louisiana theme. The next float making its way in, the Green Lantern. This is a more recent one.
Well, and I was so excited about this movie coming because I like the Green Lantern. It was...
the movie wasn't very good?
No.
Oh, no. It had some of my favorites, too. I love Blake
Ryan
Lively.
Reynolds was in it. What was
Blake
great
Lively
about...
is amazing.
What was great about... And he married her.
Oh, that's right.
And what was great about Ryan Reynolds, when he did the new one, Deadpool,
yeah,
he made fun of the Green Lantern and a bunch of other superhero movies.
That gives him some
Ryan
redemption,
Reynolds, He's a really cool guy. And I'm so glad it was filmed here. It was just neat seeing some of the scenes that were done here in New Orleans.
People probably remember some of the filming around the city. This was back in 2010.
Yeah.
They were filming this right here in New Orleans, so.
It came out in 2011.
You guys probably remember it.
But you don't remember there was actually a TV show back in the 60s called The Green Lantern.
Nope, I missed that one too, Eric. Are you having fun tonight? Reminding me of all the things I missed in the 60s. You know what's also neat tonight is we're seeing the riders, when they're done going around their third or fourth time around the convention center, they get off the float and come join the party.
Yeah. And we've been talking to a bunch of people who've been coming off some of the floats, and they had a great ride. It was a fun night tonight. The weather held out. It's just wonderful.
We get bands, Eric, from all over the country in our Mardi Gras parades. This one's from Michigan. It's a steel drum band.
Would you have ever guessed that a steel drum band would come out of Michigan?
No, not at all. That is a surprise.
That kind of surprised me.
It is definitely giving me a Jamaican vibe.
Oh, yeah. And I love a steel drum.
Huh. They look like they belong in New Orleans, though, I'll tell you that.
I didn't know Michigan had this.
No, it's part of Northern Michigan, a band of 30 students with a Caribbean flair. All right.
The Petoskey Steel Drum Band. I wonder how Bacchus found them.
I have no idea. Or did they find Bacchus?
Maybe. But it's amazing the work that goes into
song.
this. Think about the logistics that you've got to do to put a parade like this together. or a night like this together.
No, I can't imagine all the work that goes into this. And it goes off for the most part pretty flawlessly. Now here's one we're all familiar with, either the movie or the book, Interview with a Vampire.
You were kind of young when this came out.
But Anne Rice wrote the book, so I was familiar with that. I didn't see the movie.
And this was a great movie.
Yeah.
This really was a great movie. And there was a bunch of controversy because Anne Rice was not thrilled that Tom Cruise was going to play Lestat.
Oh.
And then she realized he did a great job in it.
Oh, that's so funny. You wouldn't think there would be a controversy over Tom Cruise
At
playing
that time, it was kind of cool because Anne Rice was throwing parties at the place she used to have on Napoleon. And it was really neat to go over there.
Wow.
And she was really cool.
They need to put you on the floats to explain the history.
No. But that was a wonderful movie. If you read the book, but you haven't seen the movie.
I didn't read the book. I just know of her books.
Okay.
I haven't read Interview with a Vampire yet.
But the movie is great. The movie really is good. And it still holds up today. Here we have the Sophie B. Wright High School Band from uptown New Orleans. They're the Warriors under the direction of Desmaine Barnes. And again, I love the helmets for the guys carrying the banner.
Yeah, those are great. The ladies always have great outfits as well.
And again, you know, I would imagine their adrenaline kind of picks up once they get inside the convention center.
I would think
and
so.
see the adoring crowds.
Yeah, there's so much attention. Everyone in the convention center is just focused on seeing that parade that we've been waiting for all night, really.
Yeah. And the thing that's so great about the convention center, I mean, it's wonderful to be out on the street and see a parade.
Yeah.
But to be inside here, the weather's perfect.
It's a very different view and
It is.
perspective.
You're kind of close up to them.
All right, our next float, Bonnie and Clyde, 1967.
You didn't see that one either, did you?
Nope.
This was a great one. You know, Bonnie and Clyde were killed in Louisiana.
Now, I did know that.
Yeah. But this was Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway. And this was a classic movie. I mean, this was a big deal when it came out in the 60s. Again, I was just a kid when it came out. But it was really cool. And it still holds up today.
Yeah, this is one you still hear of. Beyonce and Jay-Z has a song that makes reference to it.
And it's amazing how long the legend of Bonnie and Clyde, I mean, and they were terrible people.
I know, and
They
it's
were
kind of
terrible
now
people.
this infamous love story that people want to emulate, but it is a terrible story.
Oh, and I'm reading on here, we have some of the notes. Gene Wilder was in this movie. I did not realize that.
Oh, okay.
Gene Hackman was great in the movie.
All right, we've got McMahon giving us some music now.
And they're doing a big job renovating McMahon over at Nashville and Claiborne. And that's a wonderful school. I'm glad they're renovating that building. It's a great building. They just built a new big gymnasium there on Nashville. And apparently we have Carmouche.
Oh,
We're talking about
actually Carmouche.
They may have changed the lineup on us.
All right.
They do that just to keep us on our toes, Sheila.
They do. This is
But it was still
Carmouche.
interesting to hear about McMahon.
Carmouche Performing Arts Academy.
Those are some pretty fancy uniforms they have.
They are.
It almost sounds like a drum line for a second, doesn't it?
It does. Here we go. They make their way into the convention center a little bit, and then it seems they put on a show for a little while for us. There we go.
I love the guys that carry the...
The drum majors are always my
Yeah.
favorite part.
I know. Did you play an instrument in high school?
No, I faked playing keyboard in elementary school for a couple of years.
Did you?
The keyboard was on mute, but I was going, baby.
Yeah. And that's got to be fun. That's got to be fun.
All right, our next float. This is float number 19, Jezebel. Eric, right in your era, 1938.
Yeah, there you go. Do you know who Betty Davis is?
Yeah, I actually do.
She had Betty Davis eyes. There's a song about that.
Okay, all right. This is a 1938 romantic drama released by Warner Brothers. And it's about a young New Orleans woman.
Betty Davis, one of the huge stars of the 30s and 40s. They've done songs about her, movies about her. Who did the song Betty Davis Eyes? I'm trying to think.
Now you know
We'll
I
look
can't
that up
help
later.
you. Yeah, we need Google.
It's a pretty float, though.
It is.
And now we have the Martin Luther King High School Band.
They are out of the lower ninth ward.
Well, and I've seen them in a couple of parades this
You've
season
seen
already.
everyone, Eric.
Kim Carnes, Betty Davis Eyes.
There you go.
Great song.
Producer Dominic Massa will never let you down.
No, he won't. He has Google right at his fingertips. And Martin Luther King High School Band is they have been in a bunch of parades. They're always a fan favorite. And you always wonder, and you were talking about the uniforms, how you're impressed with the different uniforms. I wonder if they make sure they look at other uniforms and make sure they don't copy. Because they're all different. I mean, somebody must have similar ideas someplace.
Sure, I don't know. They are all very unique. Look at these headpieces.
Yeah. The last two bands, Carmouche and MLK, have both had great headpieces.
I really like these. It's all about showmanship. I mean, it really just plays into everything that Mardi Gras is about. Putting on an amazing show, entertaining, and I love that they do that through the music, through the way they walk, through what they wear. It's just all about putting on a show. It's great.
And I love looking at the crowd, see all the blinking lights and everything.
Sure.
And we've gotten a few of the blinking light throws that they've been giving out.
Yeah, we have caught some stuff. Well, we haven't, but our crew has along the way.
That was the Bacchanality, the hospitality float. What's amazing, and you know this because we've gone shopping for throws together, they're expensive.
Oh my goodness, you would have no idea how much they have to spend.
And they've been throwing for hours.
For hours.
And then to come in here.
And unload.
And unload. It's just great. This is one of our, where we have our little thingamajig here.
What is it?
I don't know.
A light stick.
I like to think it's a magic wand. Poof.
Are you trying to make me disappear?
You're still here.
Then you'll be all by yourself, Eric.
As we watch the marching band go by, we will take one more break and be back with more of our coverage of Bacchus 2019. Bacchus 2019, he may not be the king, but boy, he's a star.
You made 3 passes around there. How much fun was outside and inside? Describe the whole experience.
That was a blast. I've done a couple Mardi Gras, and to see it from that view it's something special. And I mean that's something I'll remember forever. That was awesome.
Being from suburban Atlanta, when you go back home, how will you describe this to people back home?
You really can't describe it because, you know, people back home are just going to think we're throwing beats at people, right? They don't understand the history of it. Just to be a part of something like this, I can't even put into words if I wanted to describe it. So I'll let them envision it in their own way.
Yeah.
And Will, you were wearing the number 3 up there. Were people screaming, Will Lutz, Will Lutz?
Yeah, they said a few extra things, but it's cool, man. You're up on that pedestal like that. It's so surreal. It's something. If you would have asked me if I'd be doing this 3 years ago, it's special.
No, and Doug asked, did anybody else go 3 rounds? Not even Bacchus went 3 rounds.
Yeah.
You're the only one who got 3 rounds.
I ran out of throws. We went around once, and I was like, okay, we're done. And then we ran around
I
twice.
was waiting for you to drop kick something.
If I had room, I would have.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
3 years in New Orleans, and I said it while you were riding. You are 4th in NFL history in field goal percentage. 87% of your kicks you've made here. You are a restricted free agent. Saints fans want to know, what are the chances you're going to be back here next year?
100%. I love it. Look, I love this place, and like you said, I'm restricted, so I'm not going anywhere. But I mean, this city is so fun. I've embraced this city, and I feel like the city's embraced me, and I've really enjoyed living here, and I look forward to a long time here. And
Sean Payton has embraced you in a big way, hasn't he? I mean, Sean Payton never had nice words about a kicker in his time here until you got here, and he's got nothing but good things to say. Talk about your relationship between you and Sean.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a roller coaster before we got here, and I say that humbly. It's been a tough kicking game for the last few years, and Sean stuck his neck out for me, and it's been a fun ride, and fortunately I've been able to back it up, and it's a testament to our team, to Thomas Morstead and Zach Wood. I mean, we work great together, and I feel like we thrived, and hopefully more to come.
And Will, as we watch the Bacchus tourists go by, I guess you can't go anywhere where people don't ask you about the no call.
Yeah, I was throwing some flags today, so there's plenty of flags.
That had to
today,
be tough for you guys.
It's hard, it's something you don't know if it's going to come back around again, and it's every player's dream is to get to a Super Bowl. So to have it, to be so close and not get there, it's tough. So hopefully it comes back around soon, and we'll shot.
Next year.
Hey, that's the plan.
There you go.
We played to make the Super Bowl.
We didn't want to go to Atlanta anyway.
Yeah, we'll go to Miami.
There you go.
We'll do it from 10 years ago.
Is it 10 years? It'll be 10-year anniversary.
Exactly.
And from a psychological standpoint, and I saw Coach Lombardi here tonight. We've seen Thomas Morstead's here. You're here. This is the kind of thing. You talk about a city that took that play hard.
Yeah.
This Mardi Gras and parades like this is sort of what this city needs to get past it, right?
Yeah, and when people ask me, what was the worst part? Obviously the locker room sucked when that happened, but you could feel it in the city. You could feel the city was gutted, and you could kind of feel it was dead for a couple days after. And that was the hardest part, is feeling the life kind of sucked out of the city. And it's perfect to have this right after all that, and everyone's happy and partying, just like
But
New Orleans.
What? After that happened, we partied.
Absolutely.
We got over it.
We
weren't happy, but we got over it.
Expect nothing less from this city.
And I'll tell you what, after the Super Bowl, Krewe was the king, or was Bacchus that year. So
2010.
I know. So maybe next year
it'll be my legacy.
You'll be Bacchus.
It's 10-year anniversary back to Miami. So
that sounds great, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
All right, Will, thank you so much, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys.
I'm glad you had a great ride.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Will Lutz, 28 of 30 on field goals this year, 93%. It was an unbelievable season from Georgia State in Atlanta to the Saints. Should have been in the Pro Bowl. Will Lutz, thanks
if I
for being
hold
with
this,
us.
do you want to kick it?
Oh, I missed. Damn it.
All right, Will, thank you.
All right, guys.
All right, here's the West Jeff High School Band. Let's listen in.
Good.
Oh, yeah. I've been throwing that in the back, actually.
It was sticking right out the side of your
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Shit.
Poor baby. All right, Sheba. We have another movie coming in, filmed in Louisiana, Live and Let Die. This was from 1973, the British spy film, James Bond series. Roger Moore was James Bond then. They had some awesome scenes that were shot here in Louisiana.
Oh, I remember this, one of my favorite movies, Eric.
Really?
Yep.
Did you really?
I just like the name, Live and Let Die.
Well, the speedboat scene in this was awesome.
Really?
It really was very cool.
I believe you.
Oh, and Andy Garcia's on this float. He's a former king, or a former Bacchus, rather. Really? In 2011, he was Bacchus. I'm not sure what number Bacchus, but he was Bacchus. That was fun having Will Lutz up here. He was great.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm sure he had a great time. He went
He had
around
a great
so
time.
many times. We can see him making his way through the crowds now. He's just
Well, he's a
enjoying
rock
himself.
star, yeah.
Did you ask him if he kicked anything?
Well, I tried to get him to I held a football, and I was see if he could kick it.
Did he do it?
He didn't do it.
Oh.
He thought about it, though.
Oh, right. And the night just continues on here at the convention center. It's just such good energy. And really, the energy only gets better as the night goes on.
What I love is no marching bands were spared in this parade tonight.
Oh, my goodness.
Because
no.
we saw a lot of the marching bands were taken out of some of the day parades.
Right.
Because of the weather.
Because of the
weather. And we saw that in a number of parades this year.
Sure.
Where they did it on Thursday night when they were worried about the rain too.
Yeah, that didn't happen here.
But in Muses, they had most of their marching bands. It was wonderful. And we have the Walter L. Cohen College Prep Band. Our next float is number 23. This is Birth of the Blues. This one, Sheba knows this film backwards and forwards.
Yes, I do. A 1941 film starring Bing Crosby, Mary Martin.
Do you know who Bing Crosby is?
Uh-huh.
Do you know what he's famous for?
Uh-huh.
What?
Being Bing Crosby.
White Christmas?
How has this turned into Sheba Trivia Night? First off, this movie is from 1941. Okay, I opt out.
That was way before any of us. The plot loosely follows the origins and breakthrough success of the original Dixieland Jazz Band in New Orleans.
And it was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Original Score.
It tells the story of Jeff Lambert, who performed in a dive on Bourbon Street. He eventually formed his own jazz band and then recruited a new trumpeter from the jail named Memphis. Jeff's band became the most popular jazz band on Bourbon Street at Blackie's Club, all in the movie.
All in the movie.
I did not know this movie.
Well, we should continue the plot because now I'm intrigued. Blackie is a mobster. He's using the nightclub for criminal interest. When Jeff announces his band's departure, Blackie threatens to kill him. A few weeks later, the gangster is accidentally killed by one of his own henchmen, allowing Jeff's band to move on to better things.
And you know, one of the early Bacchuses, Bob Hope, was a frequent co-star of Bing Crosby in the On the Road movies. Road to Morocco, Road to wherever. Well, these marching bands just are great tonight.
They really are. And I love when they stop so the dancers can put on a show for a second.
Yeah, and that's what I like when you have the marching bands, when you're out on the parade route and there's a lull and they stop and entertain everybody.
Sure.
I mean, it's just wonderful.
Next float making its way, Eric, the Baka Wapa, right before us.
I love that name, don't you?
85 feet long, and I do love the name.
The Baka Wapa. This is one heck of a float. Well, and you know that's why this is a super crew, because you have so many humongous floats. This one introduced in 1999, 75 riders. You could probably put 175 on this one. It's 85 feet long. Think about the tractor driver who's got to maneuver this around city streets and through the convention center.
How cool. It says that this whale was making its first appearance to celebrate the opening of the aquarium. All right, and again, this is the Baka Wapa making its way. It's so cool. We've seen so many floats dedicated to the theme tonight, starring Louisiana, and then we've seen the classics like the Baka Wapa, which we've been seeing for years. They're always crowd favorites, and Bacchus is full of so many of these super floats. And you can see as the riders come in, again, they don't have to wear their masks any longer once they're in the convention center, but they're still unloading all those throws on everyone who's here for the fun.
All right, and we have a couple of guys here who are instrumental in making sure all this happens tonight. Robert Cangelosi and your son.
Hi, guys.
Dr. Cangelosi is a charter member.
You were telling
so
me
that's
this was
impressive.
your 51st ride?
51st ride.
That's amazing. How did things go tonight?
And Dr. Cangelosi, what was it like in the early days when you and Pip Brennan and the guys were planning all this?
It was unbelievable. They asked me to join. I said, I don't want to be in a Mardi Gras ball. When they told me what it was going to be like, I said, count me in.
And can you believe how big it's grown over the years? Can you believe how big it's grown over the years?
Oh, no. And we had the audacity to have a Jewish king, Danny Kaye. He was the greatest king.
He was the first king.
And the greatest king we've ever had.
And now, Robbie, you wrote the book on the history. It's a great book. I read it. When I got it, I couldn't put it down.
And there is so much history here.
Yes.
Great.
I joined shortly after the crew was organized in '74, and since my father was a charter member, he kept all the memorabilia, and I continued the tradition. So I had more than actually the crew had in their archives. So we put it all together and thoroughly enjoyed working on it.
How did you decide what was going to be in the book, what was going to be left out, put in? I mean, that's hard.
It was very hard because we went through a lot of editing because the book was actually much bigger, and then because of space, we had to cut it on down and make some final decisions. So it's always tough. I've been working with the Friends of the Cabildo and the architecture series there, so I'm used to doing those books. So I was very proud when the captain asked me to produce the book for the crew.
And we understand you come up with a theme every year?
Yes.
How did you pick this year's theme? We've been loving it.
Because we were really impressed with this year's theme.
Actually, it was suggested by Arthur Hardy.
Oh,
and
okay.
So I'm close friends with him, and we work together on a lot of things. And he had suggested, of course, there's a lot of movies always being filmed in Louisiana, so I proposed it to the captain, and he loved it, and we ran with it. So it was a lot of fun.
And I know over the years you've seen a lot of great stars beat Bacchus. Do you have some favorites, some people that really stand out? I know Bob Hope had to be an incredible one.
Yeah, fantastic. And the thing that was so great in the first days, riding up Broad Street, riding through the quarter, which we can't do anymore. But the parade in the quarter, riding up Broad Street was fantastic.
Yeah. And in 1979, a lot of us remember it very well. It was 40 years ago. There was the police strike. So you didn't roll that year. Ron Howard was Bacchus that year.
That's right.
correct.
And his old buddy Henry Winkler had been prior to that, right?
2 years before, Henry Winkler, and he got the whole crew to come on down and ride in Bacchus. Unfortunately, there was the police strike. They did ride through the Superdome because at that time frame there was concerts in the Dome, and then they came over to the River Gate where the Rendezvous was held then, and they rode through the River Gate. That was year was we had the second time a female rode on a float. Marion from Happy
that's
Days.
right, yeah.
Yes, there was another lady that rode on the Kong float. The original time she went up and down in the air, and that was the second time that a female rode on one of the Bacchus floats. So we've had more since then, but that was the early years.
And they really did a lot in New Orleans. I know they did a lot of softball games, charity softball games. I played in a softball game with them, and they were just super nice.
They did a lot of things around town, and they were very engaged.
Yeah.
And, it was very unfortunate they didn't get to enjoy the parade on the streets, but they thoroughly enjoyed it.
All right. Well, the book is great, and thank you for getting this all started, Dr. Cangelosi.
We know your ride is over when your hair is in your hand. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, on to our next float, guys, and this one, honoring a streetcar named Desire.
The great Tennessee Williams play. And Tennessee Williams, who loved this city.
Don't you have a great story about that?
Well, I did the last interview with Tennessee Williams.
That's amazing, Eric.
And I'll tell you what, he really would have loved to have been buried here, but his brother Dakin had him buried in St. Louis, his hometown.
Oh, wow. You guys both from St. Louis.
Yes, and we both went to the same high school.
No way.
Different years, but same high school. But that was great. The book that Robbie Cangelosi wrote on Bacchus really is a great read.
And so cool to hear he comes up with a theme every year.
Yeah.
All right, we've got Alice Hart, Charter School Band, making its way into the convention center.
And again, it's amazing how many high school bands are in this, and plus college bands. We saw some college bands and high school bands. I've lost track of how many bands actually.
Oh yeah,
but
no,
it's been
there's
a lot.
so many.
And
this one is actually a middle school band, but we've been talking about, I mean, the young kids in this city are so talented from such a young age. The middle schoolers sound just as good as the high schoolers.
The only thing we're missing is the grade school bands. It could happen.
Listen.
Oh, there are elementary school kids in this, so
well,
I was right.
They're already in there.
And what a fabulous night they're having. And you know what? Those uniforms get hot when it's hot at carnival time. Those
Not
have to
on
be,
a night
those
like
have to
tonight.
be terrible. But on a night like tonight,
It's
where it's
cold.
nice and cool,
Yeah.
it's good for them.
And these girls, I mean, they're troopers. Those girls didn't even have jackets on.
No, I know it. And like we said, they're like postal workers. They go through rain, sleet, or snow, or blazing sun.
Whatever New Orleans brings.
And this has been a fun show tonight. And people here are having such a good time.
Oh my goodness, yeah, and the crowd has been catching so much stuff. I've been watching the throws make their way into the audience.
You know, and these are memories these kids will have for a lifetime.
All right, we've been talking about our classic floats tonight. The Buccaneer. It's way.
This is another one of these humongous floats.
It is. This one's 164 feet long.
And you think about, I do think about the tractor drivers having to drive this.
Oh my goodness.
And maneuver this around streets. And then
Could you
through
imagine?
a small, and I mean the convention center is huge, but they've got it cordoned off so the crowds can be in the center and then in the back, on the other side. And they've got to maneuver all the way around that with a huge float.
Yeah, we've seen 2-part floats tonight, 3-part floats. This one has 4 units, Eric, and 111 riders.
And we did one of our Eye on Carnival reports about the guy who does a lot of the designs on this float, Manuel Ponce. And the artistry in this is just amazing. And you think about the planning that goes into something like this, because this is a major piece of construction.
It really is, and this one's special.
Look at the big screen on there.
It honors Miss Barbara, so it's named after the crew founder Pip Brennan's late wife.
Yeah, Barbara Brennan.
This one actually just debuted last year.
Yeah, and it's a big one. you talk about 164 feet, that's a long float.
It really is. The cool thing is they tied their classic floats to the theme tonight as well, starring Louisiana, Eric. So this one is celebrating the Buccaneer, which is a 1958 pirate film.
You realize this is half the size of a football field.
No, that's crazy. It's so long. Some of the riders are getting off to
and
tell
they're
us
apologizing for
that
throwing
they're
beads at
sorry
us.
to hit us with beads as they pass by. They don't know that we're on TV.
And
they're
this
finishing
one,
their ride.
This float alone could wrap around part of the convention
This
center.
float alone could be a parade, Eric.
It really could.
We just have to put a band in between each unit.
But the technology that goes into these now, it's really come such a long way from the earlier floats.
One day they'll be showing movies on the float.
They might. But it's great. For the nighttime parades, it's just lit up everything so beautifully. All right, as we watch the 164 feet of the Buccaneer float roll by, we'll take another break and be back with more of Bacchus 2019. The Martin Berman High School Band.
We've seen so many great bands tonight, several from the West Bank of New Orleans. This is another one.
You know, and each marching band has a support crew that goes with them. The band director's usually with them. They have dancers and the banner carriers.
Yeah.
They also have people to bring them water.
Oh, sure.
They carry extra instruments. They carry all kinds of things with them whenever they go.
The drum majors are always my favorite. They put on a big show. This band is under the direction of Julius Hill.
Julius Hill was on the show the other day, on our show.
Mm-hmm.
He was an intern student at Landry I believe Walker.
You were telling me about
Yes,
him.
and I went to Japan with him.
Yeah.
We went there with the Tipitinas Foundation for a goodwill trip, sharing the music of New Orleans with the music of Japan. It was really kind of cool.
And now here he is leading the band.
He is leading the band. It's great to see him go from high school to running a school band. He's a middle school band now.
Eric, this is the one you mentioned earlier, NCIS New Orleans, still currently filming in New Orleans. This float is dedicated to it.
And that's a fun show.
Yeah, they've got a lot of cool stuff going on in there, and they always tie in. They've had episodes where they've tied Mardi Gras into the episode.
Yeah, they have. Although what I love about NCIS New Orleans, they can have 3 or 4 murders on Mardi Gras Day, solve them, and still make it to a parade that night.
It is a TV show of the day.
Yeah, and it is fun because they really showcase New Orleans, and that's what you love about NCIS New Orleans. They do showcase New Orleans, and people love this show all over the country. Very popular show.
Yeah, and I hear local people say they just like to watch and see what parts of New Orleans they're using.
We watch every week, and just because I love seeing it. And you try to pick out, when you see places, you're trying, okay, now where is that? But the cast is great. Some of the cast members live here.
Yeah, we spoke with CCH Pounder, who has her art exhibit. She had it up at Xavier University for a while. That's what I love. They stay in New Orleans long enough to really get integrated into our culture and share. As she was sharing some of her artwork with the city, they really become a part of the city and enjoy it.
And it's based on, it was led by Agent Dwayne Pride. It was actually modeled after a true agent.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I do remember hearing that when the show first started. This was a fun one. We were expecting to see the NCIS float tonight. This is the Cog Hill Marching Band. And they're putting on a show right now, so let's listen.
Yeah, these are the Marching Cougars Band from Cog Hill School. We said we had elementary, middle school, college, all these marching bands. It is great when you see some of these very young dancers.
Oh, that's some of my favorite, just how young these kids are.
And this really does help discipline kids, gives them something to do, a real purpose.
Sure, and you can see they have so much pride.
Yes, and there's a camaraderie amongst musicians that we see in this city. We see it in the hospitality industry. We see it with musicians all the time.
And imagine how they feel to see the crowd so excited to watch them perform.
That's got to be, because you think about when you were in elementary school or high school, and I would have never dreamed of doing something like this.
It looks like a lot of fun, though.
Yeah. And now they entertain the crowd. When there's a lull in the crowd, lull in the parade, rather, they will entertain the crowd.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a great tradition of parading here in New Orleans.
Oh, Eric,
your
this
movie.
is the one I've been waiting for, The Princess and the Frog, the Disney movie from 2009, which also was made after our Leah Chase, who we love so much.
Yeah, and it was a beautiful movie. It really was.
This was such a good movie. It was so Louisiana.
Yeah.
From the frog to the princess who loved to cook.
Uh-huh.
And wanted a restaurant. It was just a great movie. I love this one.
And beautifully animated.
It really was.
All right, as we watch Princess and the Frog go by, a gorgeous float. Let's go down to the gorgeous Doug Mouton.
Oh, that was nice, Eric.
Yeah, it has been a fun ride. How's the ride been so far?
Fantastic. A little chilly, but that's all right.
Nice. Did you get any rain at all?
Not at all.
Not at all. It's been a beautiful night. And I tell you, a couple of things that strike you from being down here in the street. First of all, any throws that get stuck in the street are immediately swept away so that marching bands aren't tripping over throws, because so much stuff is getting thrown. We're going to step back out of the way, and I'll tell you the other thing that is amazing to watch from this side of the street. is when the floats come to the other side of the street, and you can sort of see them all decked out. The Scooby-Doo float and the NCIS New Orleans float. These are unbelievable floats, and these aren't the ones that they use every year. These are the ones that were created just for this year. The LED lights. Paul, get a shot going back the other way of the Buccaneer coming the other way. Actually getting a little bit of perspective on the float makes it more unbelievable when you see it coming. It is just gorgeous artistry on every one of these floats that we're seeing. The marching bands down here, I know you guys can hear them up there. From down here, they all sound terrific. So far, it's just been a great night. Every single person you see has caught a boatload of throws. Throws everywhere. We had great weather tonight. The bands sound great. And you saw we started with the college bands, moving to high school, getting down to the smaller kids, and they still sound great.
And Doug is so right. It's just these high school and college, middle school, and elementary school marching bands have just been wonderful tonight.
They have been great, and you can tell a lot of them have on jackets now. It's reminding us we're inside, but it's cold outside.
Well, and Doug was talking to one of the riders on the Prince of the Frog float.
Yeah, and the first thing he mentioned was it's cold.
It's chilly outside.
Yeah, he says it's a little chilly outside.
I know when I walked in tonight, the temperature dropped significantly.
Oh my goodness, I think it's kind of cold outside now.
Yeah, it probably is. It's supposed to be in the 40s tonight.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad these kids have jackets.
Yeah, in fact, I guess as you're farther along in the band, you're longer at
you're
the,
out there
in the
even
cold
later,
weather. Yeah,
and it's getting colder. The parade is great, but of course the party continues.
Yeah, the Rendezvous. The
long.
Rendezvous is a wonderful party, and here we see our next float coming in. It's Cat People. I did not remember this movie. This was a 1982 horror film, but it had a lot of great stars in it: Natasha Kinski, Malcolm McDowell, John Hurd, and New Orleans' own John Larroquette, who was Bacchus 27.
One of the characters travels to New Orleans to reconnect with her brother who lives on Esplanade Avenue, so New Orleans, and they find out they're werecats? What is that, like a werewolf?
I guess so.
It's a bizarre storyline.
And John Larroquette, as we said, from New Orleans, he got really famous when he was doing the show Night Court. And he's just a great guy, and he had a fun ride when he was Bacchus.
This is a fun float, though. Look at this.
Yeah. And Doug was talking about a lot of these floats. These aren't just rehash of old floats. These were all done, at least a lot of the movie floats.
Oh, sure, they're so specific.
They were done for this parade.
Yeah, they were done for this parade.
Now, I'm guessing you don't remember this movie either.
The Cat People?
No.
No, but I kind of want to see this one.
It kind of sounds great.
Yeah, the police find dozens of corpses, which they figure a wild animal has killed, and calls in Audubon Zoo's
zookeeper
to inspect. It's bizarre.
No more bizarre than the plots we have now.
That's very true. Now that's true.
So it is true, but this is a beautiful float.
I do like the colors and the cats.
And you notice everybody's dressed up in different outfits for each float.
To go with their theme.
Yeah, to go with their theme. But John Larroquette, a couple of years ago, was on our show. And he was just a lot of fun.
All right, more ponchos as East St. John makes its way into
This is the 1 millionth band we've had tonight.
It really is.
Or maybe the 999th, one of the two. But they've all been great. And as we said, it's something we've come to expect in New Orleans. You know, we're kind of spoiled here.
We are. We don't settle for one or two bands. We need a band, then a float, then a band, then a float.
Maybe a couple of bands and then a float.
Yeah.
The thing that I like about a lot of the crews now are they have these marching crews. The 610 Stompers, the Rolling Elvi, the Laissez
Lazy Boys.
Lazy Boys.
That's the one I think you should join.
I should do that. In fact, you tweeted about that today.
I did. They
Then you
roll
have-
in their Lazy Boy chairs.
And you
so
have the
fun.
Amelia Earharts and, I mean, just so many others.
So good.
The Pussyfooters. I mean, just so many. It's just hard to remember them all.
Oh, my goodness.
But it gives everybody a way to be part of Carnival.
That's what's the cool part.
Yeah,
You
and I
can
think that's
join
just so
in
nice.
Just as a spectator, watching these great floats. This is JFK coming down now.
Now, that was a really good movie, and that was filmed here in New Orleans, of course.
It's 1991 thriller.
Yeah, and it caused a lot of controversy because Oliver Stone had certain thoughts he had about the assassination of John F. Kennedy. It was based a lot on Jim Garrison, the district attorney at the time of Kennedy's assassination. He wrote a fascinating book. It was a little out there, but Jim Garrison truly believed in what he was doing. And it was a very interesting movie.
Well, the film was a winner. JFK was nominated for 8 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. It won 2 for Best Cinematography and Best Film Editing.
Yeah, Kevin Costner was pretty young at that time, as we all were.
This is float 31.
But
So
I
we
do
got
remember,
one more float, Eric?
I do remember interviewing Jim Garrison at the time, and he was pretty happy with the film.
Yeah.
The late Jim Garrison.
Well, this is our second to last float.
And it's been a great night.
It really has. The energy's been amazing throughout, from the crowd, from the riders. It's just been wonderful.
And this convention center is literally packed with people.
And you can see them flailing their hands in the air, still begging for those throws, and they've got lots of them left.
And you think about a lot of these riders, I mean, they have spent a bunch of money to do this. They've been throwing since 5:15 this afternoon
Isn't
when the
that
parade
crazy?
started.
And they get here and they still have tons of stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, JFK. Oh, this is Elvis Presley's movie.
Our last float. 1958 musical drama.
It seems like it would have been befitting if they had the rolling Elvi after this one.
This is a fun fact. They had to change the shooting location several times because crowds of fans for Elvis Presley.
Well, Elvis Presley was a huge
Oh
star.
my goodness, yeah.
And in his death, he's been a huge star.
Sure, so that's believable. I mean, that would disrupt the filming.
And I didn't realize that movie was that long ago, 1958. And I believe that was one of Elvis's, if not his first movie, one of his first movies. How many Elvis songs do you know, Sheba?
I don't know. Sing some for me.
Let's see. Heartbreak Hotel.
You got to sing it.
Well, since my baby left, I found a new place to dwell.
Okay, got that one. There's one about jail. What am I trying to think of?
Jailhouse Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, rock. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, rock.
I don't think that's it.
That's not it, but it's close.
Not even close.
They should have put me on the top of the float.
But King Creole was a really good movie.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Krewe of Bacchus has presented for your enjoyment their 51st parade.
All right, as we watch King Creole go by, and look at the packed crowds here in this convention center, the Morial Convention Center. We'll take a break and be back. Take a break and be back with more of our coverage, live coverage of Bacchus 2019.
Our wonderful king.
And we have the captain of Bacchus
51,
introducing our Bacchus
Jensen
51,
Ackles.
Jensen Ackles.
Thank you, Clark. And thank you to all of you who showed up here today on what turned out to be an unbelievable Sunday afternoon for Mardi Gras. I want to give a special thanks to the Brennan family. I want to thank the Bacchus crew. I want to thank the city of New Orleans I want to thank each and every one of you. This has been an absolute thrill of a lifetime for not only me, but my family and my friends. And I was saying earlier, I can't imagine doing this once every 10 years. These guys do it every 12 months. You guys are crazy. But then I realized on doing a little bit of research about Bacchus, that he's not only the god of wine and fertility, he is also the god of ritual madness, which I see you have accomplished here this evening. And it is also said about Bacchus that if you partake in his powers and in his mysteries, then you become possessed with the God himself. So let's get some ritual madness up in here tonight, and let's get possessed with the spirit of Bacchus. You guys are unbelievable. Thank you so much. Clark?
Thank you. Let the show begin. Have a great night.
All right, and there you have it. Bacchus 51, Jensen Ackles.
And Clark Brennan introducing him. And I'll tell you what, you could hear while he was talking to the crowd, some women screaming.
Oh, there's lots of women screaming for him.
It was kind of cool.
He's popular with the ladies.
And he had a great time. And I think he said it right. You know, they have to do this every year. Not have to. They do this every year.
Sure.
Which is an incredible accomplishment. He said he can't imagine doing this every 10 years.
Yeah.
But he had the thrill of a lifetime. And he was right. The weather did hold out. The show is getting ready to begin here.
Oh yeah, the party
This
goes
party
on.
is going to continue. The Rendezvous will go on long into the morning hours.
Yes, it will.
Are you staying for all of it?
I am working in the morning, Eric, unlike one of us. So you
I'm gonna
enjoy
get
the
up and
party
watch
for
you
both
tomorrow.
of us, okay?
I will.
Thank you guys so much for joining us.
All right. We'll take one more break and have some final thoughts with the beautiful Doug Moton after this. Well, this is the way to end the show. The Rendezvous, we have Bacchus 51.
Yes, we do. Jensen Ackles, and we should say happy birthday. It's your birthday weekend, right?
Hey, well, yeah, my birthday was on Friday, March 1st. So
Awesome.
I can't think of a better way to celebrate a birthday. In fact, now I should just stop having them.
This was a good one, and you have Louisiana ties. Your wife is from Lafayette.
My wife, yeah, I'd like to say I married into Louisiana, and it has treated me well ever since. And I mean, this has been the highlight of a lifetime for sure.
And you were talking on stage with Clark Brennan about doing this every year. I mean, this is a lot to do. You said I couldn't do this every 10 years, much less every 12 months.
Yeah, no, I mean, looking around me, and when we came into this convention hall on the floats, first of all, the trip through downtown New Orleans on that float is unlike anything anybody's ever experienced. If you ever have a chance to ride in a Mardi Gras parade, do yourself a favor, it'll change your life. But doing that and then ending it in here with all of these incredibly beautiful people and this wonderful band, I mean, it's just, you can't write this stuff.
Well, Jensen, there's one thing like there's riding in a parade and there's being Bacchus or king. It's good to be the king.
It is great to be the king. I will say, I'm being up on that throne. I thought I was worried about, well, you know, what happens if I have to go to the bathroom? What happens if I get tired? What happens if I get hungry, thirsty? None of that happened for 5 hours. It was all adrenaline for the entire time. I never sat down and I never wanted to. It was incredible.
And it's an adrenaline weekend, isn't it?
Oh,
It starts at Children's Hospital and it runs all the way through, doesn't it?
I kept hearing that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and I think it's a super marathon. I think it's one of those like 100-mile marathons. So, oh, there I am. Yeah.
There you go.
That was so cool. Meeting with the kids and meeting with the staff there, and they're doing really, really good things. And their brand new facility. That was one of my highlights as well, just being there.
And not to feed your ego, but one of the guys from Bacchus was saying they've never had the kind of response online that they had when you became Bacchus.
Well, that's just because my mother, she spends a lot of time online making sure that they don't say anything bad about me.
Good to know that.
Your mother and a ton of win. Let's talk about this. Is this your first Mardi Gras?
It's my first Mardi Gras.
Okay, that's insane. So now your perspective is as the king. I don't know how you come down from that.
I don't know. Well, I had a little conversation with Andy Garcia just a moment ago, and he said now you got to come back and you got to wear a mask and be incognito. It's a whole different experience. So I plan on doing that soon.
What was the biggest surprise for you from this experience? Because we're crazy.
You know what the biggest surprise was? The amount of people, and it was as far as the eye could see. And because I'm the first float, they're all looking at me, waiting for me to come down the road, and I'm just hearing like, throw me a bead! and so I'm just trying to get them out as fast as I can, and I think I've got a couple of bloody fingernails
You may
right
have
now.
a rotator cuff. And did you talk to other stars who have been Bacchus to get some advice on, gee, what's this like?
Well, yeah, I've had a few people tell me some things, and like I said, I talked to Andy both before and after the parade, and I actually went up to him before we got on the float, and I said, Andy, come on, one piece of advice, and he just goes like, oh no.
And he's one of the guys that comes every year.
And he got it right. I mean, he came up to me afterwards, gave me a big hug. He said, am I right? You can't explain that. Yeah. You can't put that into words. No. And he's right. And I said, I'm like, there's nothing in Hollywood that does it this big. There's nothing that I can think of that goes this big to this extent and puts on this much of a show. It's truly one of a kind.
And you know what? You know you're a big star when even the rain stops for Jensen Ackles.
Well, as apparently Charlton Heston once said, it will not rain on Bacchus. And so it looks like he's still pulling some strings upstairs.
There you go. Jensen, thank you and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And you've made a great Bacchus.
Thank you very much. It's been an honor.
All right. We'll listen to the band and we'll talk with the crew captain, Clark Brennan, in a few seconds.
All right.
And as promised, we have Clark Brennan with us. I'll tell you what, Clark, this has been great. And the weather held out for you guys. It's just been wonderful.
It's such an amazing night. We just spoke with Jensen Ackles, the greatest Bacchus 50.
Well, and then Thomas Zatanovich of Dragos just came by, and he said, I'm pretty sure that Jensen likes oysters because he ate at my place last night.
Oh, that's so cool. He's really been enjoying New Orleans.
And that's one of the things that people who come to this city, they love to go to the restaurants, they love to get the great food, things like that.
Yeah, and as we said, listen, the party goes on. The parade was really just the start of it here tonight in the convention center. You see, they've got great performances going on stage. This crowd is nowhere near ready to go home, Eric.
Oh, this has been so much fun. This has been so much fun. Clark, can you hear us now?
Yes, sir.
All right.
There you are.
Wonderful, wonderful.
A great ride every single year. Tell us about this year. It was amazing.
Well, first we said a lot of novenas and a lot of prayers for the weather.
They were.
Boy, that had to be kind of harrowing, you know?
Well, the police made a great call with the morning parades moving up a
yes.
little early.
Sure.
They didn't get a drop. And then when we started, we pushed back from coming out of the convention center about, we usually leave around 3:30, so we left at about 4:15, 4:20. And it just stopped the rain right there, and it was a beautiful night.
And I'll tell you what, because when you're Bacchus, that uniform is a little warm
yes,
if it's
it
hot.
is.
But I'll tell you what, nice and chilly out tonight.
It was beautiful, beautiful, thank God.
Wonderful. We just spoke with the King, Jensen Ackles. It seems like he had such a great ride and was so popular among Supernatural fans.
he has just been a wonderful, wonderful king. And his family is the sweetest can be. His wife, Danielle, his little daughter, JJ, is here tonight. And that's what Bacchus is all about, his family. It just makes me so happy when he and his family and friends can enjoy our city, our town, our state, and a great party.
And Clark, when you were on stage and you could, with Jensen, I could hear some women yelling from the audience. Did you think they were yelling at you or him?
Eric is so
I'm
savage.
sorry. Maybe one day ago, but not anymore. Yeah, he's got me beat on that one. He's got me beat.
And you know, it is great to see these guys come down here and they become Bacchus, and especially for a guy like him who's never been to Mardi Gras before.
Never been.
No.
And he gets an experience like this, and he said, you know, he's telling people, you got to ride in a parade. And I said, there's one thing about riding in a parade, there's another thing about being Bacchus.
Well, we try to prep them, but you know, they say pictures worth 1,000 words, but even pictures don't do this justice. And for them to be on top of the King's float and absolutely just be the king, and you have millions of people looking up to you, yelling your name, I mean, it's got to be a great adrenaline rush.
And tell us, how were the crowds tonight? Because, you know, it was a little iffy around 4 o'clock or so.
I tell you, for the rain that came, I thought the crowds were great. Could they have been bigger? Sure. But I've seen bigger, but I was very pleased. I thought they were big. I thought they were bigger than I expected.
Yeah. And that's what we saw.
This year, starring Louisiana. We learned a lot tonight, actually.
I know.
Wait, and who did all the research on that? Because you pulled out movies I had never heard of before.
Robbie Cangelosi is.
Oh, Robbie, yeah.
So Robbie does our historical stuff, and we try to do a lot of history to go into our themes and what we're going to do.
Well,
and so we get together and we talk about it and what's good, what's bad, what do we think, and he put all that together.
You know, there's only one problem, Clark. How do you top this next year?
That's why my shoulders are getting droopier each year. You got to do it. You know, last year was 50 years. We thought we'd never get there.
Gonna try.
So this year with the show and what we're going to do, you just got to up the ante every year.
We'll be back next year.
Thank y'all so much.
Very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful night.
All right.
Appreciate it.
And thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been a wonderful night here at the Bacchus Rendezvous.
We've had such a good time. We've learned from all of the themes on the floats this year. We've had great music, great shows, great marching bands.
And Sheba, I'll be watching you tomorrow on the Eyewitness Morning News.
Oh, don't you make fun of me, Eric Paulson. If that's going to happen, then I need you to at least dance for both of us tonight, okay?
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, guys. Happy Mardi Gras.